Hello, I'm Teacher Robin. Welcome to another live streaming class. If this is your first time to join us, let me tell you how the classes work. Today we're going to talk about learning English with books. So if you want to participate in the class, you can write your questions or your comments in the comment section and I'll be reviewing them throughout the class. So we've chosen today's topic because many students ask, what are some book recommendations? What can I read if I have a lower level? So I'm going to give you lots of tips and recommendations for adult books, young adult books, as well as children's books to get you started reading in English. Okay, so let's discover first some reading tips. Okay, the best thing that you can do is to read a book that interests you. If you take a book or choose a book that doesn't interest you at all, then you're not going to enjoy it and you're probably going to stop reading it because you find it boring. So whatever is interesting for you, whether it's science, whether it's a hobby that you have, find a book about that or history or something like that and choose something that you know is going to be interesting for you. Okay, also choose a book that's appropriate for your level. So we're going to talk about that as we go throughout the class. But you don't want to choose War and Peace or a book that's really long or has really complicated vocabulary if you're just getting started reading in English. Some of those books are complicated even for native speakers, so don't try to go above your level. Start with something simple, and then as you build your vocabulary, you can choose something a little bit more difficult. Okay, the best way to get in the habit is to read a little bit every day. So I personally do this. I read when I'm on my way to work. So on the metro or on the bus, I take out my Kindle or my paperback book, and I read on the way to work and on my way home. So this is a great way, just in that half hour on your commute, you can try to read just a little bit, a few pages, one chapter, whatever you can, and then you get in the habit of reading every day and you pick up new vocabulary words as you go. Okay, keep a notebook of vocabulary. So this is a good idea if you want to, not just vocabulary, but maybe some expressions that you haven't heard before and you want to look up later. So then you will have all of this new vocabulary that you've learned when you finish your book or when you finish each chapter, etc. And you can keep that with you in your notes. Okay, make a timeline or a chart for clarity. So this depends on kind of the story. But for example, if you have a story that takes place in different time periods, sometimes it's best to kind of draw out a little chart or a timeline to remind you who is who, maybe with the characters' names and the year or where they are, things like that. And that way it's clear. And maybe if you do have to stop reading for a couple of days and you go back to it, then it's easy for you to pick up where you left off and remember what the story is about. Okay, I see we have several people joining us already. Mohammed, Roxana, Wilvert, and Yana Purn say hello. So thank you for watching, and be sure to write any questions that you have in the comments. Okay, and finally, I recommend making a profile on Goodreads. So this is almost like a Facebook, but for reading. So I have my profile on Goodreads, and what you can do is you can mark books that you want to read. You can look them up and you can find a summary about them. You can find book recommendations based on books that you like. So if you like historical fiction, then you can find recommendations, or if you like a specific author, then you can find other books by that author. And you can also see what your friends are reading. So if you're connected with your friends, for example, you can link it to your Facebook account, and then you can see what all of your friends are reading and maybe get some recommendations there. And you can also write reviews. So after you finish reading a book, you can give it a rating out of 5 stars, and you can write what you thought of the book, etc. And this is helpful for other readers and for you to remember. So I highly recommend creating a profile on Goodreads if you don't have one already. Okay, so let's talk again about genre. So you want to pick a book that interests you, and so this is a good idea to choose a genre that is going to keep you interested. So a genre is a style or a category of a book. So this could be something like a mystery, science fiction, historical fiction, romance, adventure. So these are just some of the examples, but these are the different genres you might want to choose from. Nonfiction as well. This means books that are nonfiction, means books that are true stories. Okay, so let's start with some recommendations for adults. Okay, if you want to read books for adults, but maybe you don't have an advanced level yet, what you can do, I recommend Cambridge and Oxford readers. So these are available in all levels, and they are adapted with vocabulary for that level. So for example, you can read classics like Charles Dickens, Jane Eyre, etc., and they are adapted to your level. So you could choose one at an intermediate level, at an upper intermediate, or even at a beginner, and you're still reading the story, but with vocabulary that you will understand. Okay? Another author that I love, a classic and that is very easy to understand, is Hemingway, specifically The Old Man and the Sea. This is a great book to start out with if you want to read some adult fiction. So really anything by Hemingway, his writing is quite easy to understand, specifically The Old Man and the Sea. And then a series of books called the Stephanie Plum series. The first one is called One for the Money by Janet Ivanovic, and then each following book has the number in the title. So 2 is in the second book, 3 is in the third book, etc. And she has, I think, almost 20 books, so you follow the same character throughout, and that way you kind of already know what's going on because you recognize the character from the previous book. So if you want to get into a series, I highly recommend this one, the Janet Ivanovic series. Okay, now let's look at some books for young adults. So young adults obviously means like teenagers, maybe 12 to 18, 19, but this doesn't mean that it's not enjoyable for adults as well. So these are books like The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton, The Giver by Lois Lowry, A Wrinkle in Time. This book has recently been made into a movie, so you could read the book and then you can watch the movie to compare. The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. This is about a boy with special needs. Okay, so a really good way to start by Mark Haddon. So any of these books, these young adult books, are a great way to get started reading. And I even recommend some children's books. So it might seem silly to read a children's book as an adult, but the vocabulary is going to be easy for you if you're just getting started, and the stories are actually fun to follow along. Things like Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak. Any kind of comic book can be a good way to get started. So I recommend things like Calvin and Hobbes, Garfield. Those are some of the easy ones. And then you have the superhero kind of series like Spider-Man or The Sandman by Neil Gaiman. These are really good ways to practice your English. Comics and Dr. Seuss. So Dr. Seuss is a very famous children's author, and his books are famous for their rhyming. So you can practice your vocabulary, you can practice your pronunciation. So with rhyming are two words that sound alike, and you can practice your syntax. So one of my recommendations of Dr. Seuss books, I recommend all of them, but my favorite one is called Oh, the Places You'll Go. Oh, the Places You'll Go. So I want to encourage you to start reading with this quote that you can find in the book, Oh, the Places You'll Go, from Dr. Seuss. The more that you read, the more things you will know. The more that you learn, the more places you will go. So see, the rhyming here is the word know and go. So actually, if you're trying to practice your English, you can look at the structure and say, okay, these words have to sound the same, so I should be pronouncing them in a similar way. So the words like know and go, you can hear that O sound, so you know that they rhyme. Okay, so now that we've gone through a quick overview of reading tips, learning English with books, I want to ask you to write in the comments, what is your favorite genre of books? Do you like reading? What kind of books do you normally like to read? And if you have read something in English, can you recommend us something? Can you recommend a book that we should look for, or that your fellow classmates should look for? I would love to hear your recommendations. I'm an avid reader, so maybe there's something that I haven't read that you can tell me about. So write it in the comments. As you're doing that, let me tell you about our course here at ABBA. If you want to practice your English with us every day, you can sign up for our course, which is available on both web and mobile form. Our course is made up of 144 units. Each unit, it goes from beginners to business level, and each unit has a short film, a video class explaining the grammar, and then exercises for you to practice all 4 of your skills: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. So it's very complete. You can take it with you wherever you go because you can also study on your phone, on your tablet, etc. And if you want more information about the different plans that we have, you can go to abbaenglish.com, and there you'll find all the information you need. In addition to our course, we have many other resources available to you, like our blog. This is called the ABBA Journal. On our blog, you can find articles about anything imaginable related to English. So English for travel, English for business, grammar lessons, all kinds of really useful information there. And we are also on all of the social media networks, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and of course, Facebook. So we post new content on those channels every day. So check that out if you want to just learn something quick. We have quick videos, quick tips, things like that that are going to help you to improve your English with us here at ABBA. Okay, so let's see if anyone has asked a question. If not, that's okay. I encourage you to keep writing, and I look forward to reading your book recommendations. So please, if you need to think about it or take time, come back later, then feel free to do that. If I don't answer your question during the live class, then I'll be checking the comments later on. Okay, let me tell you what we're talking about next week. We're going to be talking about a more grammar-related class, so the present perfect progressive. This is a little bit more advanced topic, but if you want to practice, then feel free to join us next week, same time. And I want to thank everyone who has watched this class. I hope it was useful for you, and I hope it has encouraged you to start reading, because this is one of the best ways that we can practice our English and enjoy ourselves. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Bye.